Dave here, how are you? I've been having some fun with my Stanton bench. I decided to make a few accessories for it, but I've run out of time this weekend. I've only got one made. I've got two more to go. This is the moxon vise. Now, you might say, well, that's lovely, it's a piece of wood. It is, it's a piece of Australian red gum, and on the other side, I've laminated it to a piece of 10mm plywood. It's very handy. It's beautiful for using with materials that are delicate, because I've got the cushion strip here as well as on the front, on the skirt down here. And I'm going to take you through the process. Now you can see it pretty easily. It has the same dog hole pattern as the bench does, and it works with lever clamps and long parf dogs, and that's it. Pretty easy. If you've got the idea, you make one yourself, that's great. If you want to see how I did it, follow along, because I built the whole thing using this bench. I did not use my table saw, I did not use the Capex. I thought I'd just go with this bench to do the whole thing. I used the track saw, I used a trim router, I used my orbital sander, and one last thing, a drill, cordless drill. And that was it. Anything you can use inside a house. And my little dust extractor. To start off, I've purchased a piece of timber, and in this situation it was Australian red gum, and it had to be wide enough to be able to travel from the top down past the second cushion strip on the side of the bench here. That was the main thing. It didn't need to be the full length. I've bought what I thought would be suffice, so it will go on to there like so. I had a piece of 10mm plywood lying around, and I thought I would run with that. So I cut that up on the bench here, and I used the long dogs and I used the short festool dogs as well, and it was so easy. There's no cutting on the bench, it all happened off the edge. You can see that I've utilized the bench in its long form as well, so I cut the longer lengths along this side. The shorter lengths I docked off that way. There's my rip saw, there's my crosscut saw. It works very, very well. All right, we've got the plywood cut. Now glue it together, and again I used the bench to do this. I used the back section of the bench because I could get clamps under it, and I could also put clamps in the dog holes on this side. So clamp from that side, a clamp from this side. I had the bench was the stiffener for the plywood. Pulled it all down, let it go off. Pulled it out of the clamps after that, and then I had to tidy this up. To do that, I put the track on top of the timber because I needed to clean this edge up. I didn't want to do that with a hand plane or anything at this stage because I wanted this to be as straight as possible. I put the 1.4 meter track, clamped it to the pair of the pieces of timber from underneath, sat it on the corner here, and then run it off with the track saw. Same kind of thing on the other side. I spun her around, measured the distance across that I needed, measured the distance across here that I needed parallel, and cut that again with the track saw. Now that would have been a whole lot easier for me with the table saw, but I was trying to do this project without touching the big machines. Remember, this bench I designed specifically for people that don't have a workshop. They've got a room in their house and they don't want to create any dust. They don't want to scratch any tables or furniture or anything like that. This does it. All right, this does the job for you. Don't worry about that. Now, once I've got the sides cut, I need to dock the end off. So it was a simple matter. Pop it in there, lay the track across the end here, knock off one end, spin her around, knock the other end off. Okay, so I have now my blank that is laminated, plywood on the back and the red gum on the front. Now I wanted to line up the holes that are on this drop down skirt so that the top would be perfectly flat with the bench as well. So how I did that, I spun the floating jaw around, back to front, and pushed it up against the bench, clamped it into position, and then disassembled the skirt from the bench top, and then went about drilling the holes through from the other side. Now I used the 3mm pilot drill again. I used the parf stick again to line up the center to give me as most accurate as I can. Then I set the UJK parf guide system up again and drilled the holes down to a certain depth and then stopped. Then flipped her over, and I needed to create larger holes on the back. I had to create a clearance hole on the back for two reasons. One reason, so a clamp can go through and rotate. Now these are fine on 3/4 inch, but once you start getting thicker than 3/4 of an inch, the clamp will not be able to rotate in the hole that's too deep and it can't make it around the turn. The other reason is because these are going to accept the long dogs as the pilots. These are the pilot bars. So you'll notice that the hole is the depth a little bit deeper than that flange, but will not travel through the back. It's all fun, isn't it? So, as I say, double purpose. Now you'll notice I did it on all of them because I want the moxon vise to be able to be multi-positional. I need these to be able to go into any position that I've got here. Let's use that one there. They can go in there, 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 wherever I want. And they will line up with the holes that I've got in the front here. Okay? There we go. So at the widest position, I can have those there, and my lever clamps can slide through here and hook out the other side. And I'll show you how easy it is. Like so. And that is a whole lot thicker than 19 millimeters. This flange will not foul the floating moxon jaw. It's under the surface, just. Then I put the 8mm bolt with the fancy festool knob on the back, lock it on. I haven't got the other one on yet, but I'll show you what happens. And straight in. Now that's my handle to pull the jaw in and out as well. It'll work better when I've got the other one on. The clamp will be there. So let's do that. And in it goes. I'll show you another little trick. Rather than having this floating around all over the place, I drilled a series of holes and created a slot for the clamp to rotate up into. So now when I push, do you like that? It's not going anywhere. And it's holding it. See that? How good is that? So that's how that works. Now I can adjust the tension, I can push up against it and tighten this one, release the other side if I want, or vice versa. It's very easy to do. Take him back out. It's out. There you go. Then the next thing to do was to create the dados for these cushion strips, and I'm going in 2.5 millimeters deep, and it seems to be working quite well for these strips. I set it so that the top strip was in line with the top strip that's already on the skirt. I set it so that the bottom strip was inside. It wasn't a rebate, it was actually a dado, so it had some protection on either side. So as I'm sliding timber in and out, it's not going to catch and tear the strip off. And it's very close to being in the same position as down there. And to make it all nice, I sanded it down to 320 grit. And hasn't the figure come up beautifully on that piece of timber? This is a highly figured piece of red gum. Okay, out with the Triple E wax, the Triple E Ultra Shine, I think it's called. And it's got, they call it Triple E because it's got Triple E powder in it, and that's a very, very fine abrasive that's already in the wax. So as I cleaned it up with the vise, pronounced vise, the aluminium oxide pad on the sander, it brought it up beautifully. Now that pad that I was using this time, I used an 800, equivalent to an 800 grit in sandpaper pad. I didn't have the dust extraction running because I didn't want to suck up all the wax and what have you into the machine, because that wouldn't have been any good. I had someone point that out to me, so I've been listening to what they say. I had masking tape in these dados, so I had to pull the masking tape out once I finished all of that, after the wax was finished, and then put the cushion strip in. And it's so easy. And I actually, this time, I used my thumbnail. I dragged my thumbnail down the side to position the strip back into the dado quite nicely. And it worked great. I also used the little plastic end on my glue brush if I could find it, but I couldn't find it at the moment, so my thumbnail did just as well. The other good thing about this design is that it all packs pretty flat. I don't have a massive big heavy moxon vise that I've got to carry around if I need it. It's a matter of unscrew this, undo that bolt, pull that out, and it's flat. And I'm going to show you something else, another little trick that this will do. And you can do this at home. I can spin this around and I can utilize this. Where are we? There. And there. That's not going anywhere. That ain't going anywhere. And now I can also utilize one of these dogs as a clamp. Now you've seen these bench clamps that squish things up to hold stuff. Watch this. Now this is not my idea. I saw this during the week and I thought this is clever. All I've done is I've reversed the head on this quick grip clamp. And I can push back to there and I can push back against the dog. And you watch. I've got a clamp straight away. And this is a pretty positive stop. How good is it that they all line up like that? Testament to how good the parf guide system is. The UJK parf guide system is really, really handy. And I'm so glad that the guys over at Axminster flicked me one. Again, I don't get any kickback for it. I'm just letting you guys know how nice they are. There we go, take that off. So there's a handy little tip all on its own. No extra cost. Okay. Do you want to see the vise assembled with something in it? Let me do that for you. Pull this out. That one out. That one out there. Two of these. First up, one in there. And another one. Going right to the outside to start. Is that going in? Yep. See that? Now that's not too hard. It's pretty easy to do. When it's sitting down there like that, I put these guys on. That's locked in. And another one. I can put these anywhere I want along these series of holes here. Put them up in position. There we go. I spin these around and now they lock up into those little holes that I created underneath. And so I can push in. Now, if I need to put extra pressure on it, I can. I lean against it because remember we've got that cushion strip on the back, so I'm not damaging any of the furniture. Release, pull it up a little tighter, and on this side, release, same thing. And that is that. Does it hold on to things? There's a question. Let's do it. And I can have more dogs, where are they? Down here, in line with what I've got there. And they're going down the bottom, down the side. So I can bring the piece of timber up to where it's going. Spin this around. Same on the other side. It's got it. Let's try the square on it and see if it comes up to the same position. There you go. Perfect. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. More tips are coming on this. I've got a couple more little hacks for this bench. So keep on coming back and watching. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you reckon it's worth it. And I shall see you next time. Bye. Love it. Links in the description box.